All right, so Apophis, huh? This is the kind of stuff that gets people talking, like what if there really is a giant space rock out there with our name on it?
It's a bit like a cosmic thriller, isn't it? We've
No.
got this asteroid named after the ancient Egyptian god of chaos, and for a while there, it seemed like it might actually live up to its name.
Yeah, a lot of you sent in links about this Apophis situation. So let's dive into that. First off, how big are we talking here? I mean, is this thing like a school bus, a skyscraper? What?
Think bigger. Picture like 3 football fields all smushed together and hurtling through space. That's Apophis.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely big enough to get my attention, and it's on a crash course with Earth.
Well, not a crash course exactly, but it's definitely making a close approach in 2029. And when I say close, I mean closer than some of our satellites.
Hold on, seriously, like we could actually see this thing.
Oh, absolutely, especially if you're in the southern hemisphere. Imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing this bright, fast-moving point of light. That's Apophis, folks.
Yeah.
A cosmic rock star making a planetary flyby.
Wow, okay. So not hitting us, but definitely buzzing the tower, so to speak. But why all the fuss then? If it's not going to hit us, why is everyone freaking out about Apophis?
Well, initially there were some concerns. Early calculations gave Apophis a small but not insignificant chance of hitting Earth in 2029, something like a 2.7% chance, if you can believe those early reports.
2.7%. I mean, those are still pretty low odds, but when you're talking about something that size, let's just say, I'm glad someone's taking this seriously.
Absolutely. And scientists were taking it seriously. It even got a 4 on the Torino scale.
Torino Scale. Okay, for those of us who don't speak astronomer, what does that even mean?
Think of it like this. The Torino scale is basically like a Richter scale, but for asteroids.
Mhm.
It measures the potential risk of an impact. And a 4 on that scale means it's worth keeping a close eye on. Not necessarily panic button time, but definitely time to study and understand the risks.
Got it. So we had some initial oh no moments, but then what happened? How did we go from potential doomsday to, okay, maybe not?
Well, the more we observed Apophis, the more data we gathered about its orbit, its speed, its trajectory, the clearer that picture became. It's like trying to predict where a dart will land on a dartboard. At first, you only have a vague idea, but the closer it gets, the more accurate your prediction becomes.
Right, so those early predictions were based on what? Incomplete data.
Exactly. But as we gathered more information, those early concerns started to fade. We got a better handle on Apophis's orbit, and it became clear that 2029 would be a close shave, but not an apocalyptic one.
Okay, phew. That's good to hear. But still, this close encounter. Like, it's got to have scientists on the edge of their seats, right? I mean, they wouldn't just let something that big just whiz past without trying to learn something from it, would they?
You're right, it's an incredible opportunity. And that's where NASA's Osiris Rex mission comes in. This is where things get really interesting.
Osiris Rex, right, like the Egyptian god. Fitting name, I guess, considering the whole Apophis connection. So, what's the mission? What are we hoping to learn from this space detective?
Well, Osiris Rex is more than just a cool name. This mission is all about getting up close and personal with Apophis. Think of it as giving an asteroid a checkup.
A checkup. Okay, what kind of checkup are we talking about here? Like taking its temperature, checking its reflexes?
Well, maybe not in the traditional sense, but Osiris Rex will be analyzing Apophis's composition, its rotation, how it moves through space, all those vital signs.
Okay, so like, what is this thing made of? Is it solid rock, or is it more like a giant rubble pile held together by gravity?
That's one of the big questions. And knowing its composition tells us a lot about its origins, its density, even how it might react if, say, we ever needed to nudge it off course.
Right, because you don't want to accidentally swat it in the wrong direction. That would be bad. So, composition check. What about rotation? Why is that important?
Well, an asteroid's spin, how it rotates, can affect its trajectory over time. And get this, Earth's gravity can actually influence that spin. Even a tiny change could, down the line, make a big difference in where Apophis ends up.
Wow, so like the butterfly effect, but with asteroids and planets? Cool, but kind of freaky. So Osiris Rex is going to measure all that. How?
It's equipped with some pretty high-tech instruments.
Yeah.
Cameras, spectrometers, even a laser altimeter to map its surface in 3D. And that's not all.
Wait, there's more? The Osiris Rex is like the Swiss Army knife of space probes. What else has it got?
The really cool part, Osiris Rex will actually collect samples from Apophis's surface.
Hold up. We're sending a probe all the way out there to basically high-five an asteroid and bring back party favors. Seriously.
Seriously. And these aren't just any party favors. These samples are like time capsules, giving us clues about the early solar system. maybe even the building blocks of life itself.
Okay, now you're just blowing my mind. So we're learning about Apophis, the solar system, maybe even the origins of life. This is way more than just averting a cosmic fender bender. But speaking of which, this mission, all this data, it does help us figure out how to deal with a potential impact, right?
100%. Think about it. If we ever need to, say, deflect an asteroid, we need to know what we're dealing with. Is it dense and solid or more porous and crumbly? How does it spin? How does its surface interact with things like lasers or impactors?
Right, because nuke it probably isn't always the best option, no matter what Hollywood says.
Probably not. Better to have a plan B or C or D. And that's what Osiris Rex is helping us develop those backup plans. It's like studying a potential opponent, learning its strengths and weaknesses so we can be ready for anything.
Okay, so we're gathering intel, preparing for a future where we might actually have to play planetary defense. But let's say, hypothetically, those early predictions about Apophis had been right. What kind of damage are we talking about here? Paint me a picture. What would an impact actually look like?
Well, for starters, forget about that city-sized crater image. Apophis is way bigger than that.
Yeah.
More like region-sized, honestly. And even that doesn't quite capture the energy we're talking about. Remember those early reports? Millions of times stronger than Hiroshima. Yeah, that's not far off.
Okay, now you're making me nervous again. Millions of times. Just to be clear, we're not talking about a little crater here, right?
Not even close. To give you some context, remember, the Hiroshima bomb, devastating as it was, only released energy equivalent to roughly like 15 kilotons of TNT.
15 kilotons?
Right, Apophis, hitting Earth. Hundreds of megatons.
Okay, yeah, I'm officially nervous again. Hundreds of megatons. That sounds catastrophic, to say the least. But what does that actually look like on the ground? Like, if we were, unfortunately, close enough to see it, what would we see?
Well, first you'd have the shockwave. It wouldn't be a gentle breeze, let me tell you.
Oh.
This thing would radiate out from the impact site, probably flattening everything in its path for, I don't know, hundreds of miles, maybe more.
Hundreds of miles, okay.
And then there's the heat. We're talking intense enough to spark wildfires, but on a continental scale. And depending on where Apophis decided to make a splash...
The tsunamis.
Oh, yeah. Coastal cities would have a very, very bad day.
Okay. I'm starting to get the picture. So not an extinction-level event like the dinosaurs dealt with, but definitely a global catastrophe.
Exactly. And even if, and this is the most likely scenario, even if Apophis landed in the ocean.
Which it probably would, right? Most of Earth is ocean, after all.
Right, but even then, we'd still be feeling the effects around the world. Disrupted climate patterns, agriculture wiped out, global trade network shot. It'd be rough. A real wake-up call, A reminder that for all our technological advances, we're still pretty darn vulnerable to these cosmic events.
Yeah, it makes you realize we're not just living on Earth, we're living with it. Part of this, well, kind of chaotic system. But hey, that's why we deep dive into these things, right? To learn, to understand the threats out there, and hopefully what we can do about them.
Absolutely. And the more we understand, the better prepared we'll be, whether it's Apophis or some other asteroid we haven't even spotted yet.
Knowledge is power, right? Or at least it's a good place to start. And knowing is definitely better than not knowing, especially when you're talking about, potential planet killers. So as we wrap up this Apophis deep dive, what's the takeaway message for our listeners?
I guess I'd say keep looking up. The night sky is full of wonders, that's for sure. But it also reminds us that we've got this one planet, this one home, and it's up to us to protect it.
Beautifully said. And hey, who knows? Maybe out there right now, there's a future astronomer or engineer listening to this, inspired to tackle these cosmic challenges head on.
I'd love to see that.
Me too. Well, folks, there you have it. Apophis, ancient god of chaos, modern-day scientific marvel. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring.